Salutations!
Welcome to the Film Mages Podcast, where the popcorn is our ammunition, the couch is our foxhole, and the cinema is a place of worship.
Now let me see your war face.
Wow.
Incredible.
Incredible. This is beautiful.
So,
It belongs in the Louvre. Put it on a pedestal for all the world to see and touch and taste.
It belongs in the Louvre. I guess we'll have to settle for the LA Convention Center.
Oh, face.
all right. And here's our next episode.
Hi, everybody.
Are we recording?
Yeah, we've been recording.
You got me, you silly
I get you
ducklings.
every time. I get you every single time. Mick's in the hot seat today.
It feels hot
It
in the
is.
hot seat.
I'm maintaining strict close eye contact with him.
We're this is our first episode out of spooky season, which we are recording during spooky season.
Yeah, so I'm not ready to say goodbye to it yet.
Yeah,
Of course
but,
not.
You know, it's we're now into our new themed month, which Alexis, please reveal the name of, because you came up with a fucking great one.
Great.
It is Period Piece Palooza. Every time. Why do you do that? Why?
Because I have to celebrate Period Piece Palooza.
Alexa.
You can do it quietly.
Every time you
like
say
like the movies are.
the movies are
Yeah,
too quiet.
The Period Piece Palooza is very, it's considered. It's
Yeah.
quiet.
Yeah,
You
considered.
should, if you're going to be
Period
editing
piece
this
is
episode,
quiet.
you
What?
should create some fanfare for Period Piece Palooza. Because we're going to be using it for the next 4 episodes in a row. Something classy.
Yes, I'm
I
trying
like
to regain.
something that
I'm
isn't
trying
peaking.
to regain my footing in this male-dominated space and bring it back to Period Piece Palooza. Oh, sweet baby Jesus, and here it is, the men to overshadow me once more.
Wow, you're probably feeling quite a bit like the protagonist of the film we just watched.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Trying to regain your footing, trying to retain your agency in this crazy old world.
Yeah, basically. But we're not ready to talk about that. So I was just thinking about like what's going on.
Oh!
That was like the most naturalistic
Yeah.
entry
Thank you.
into what's
Thank
going
you.
on. You didn't put too fine
I
a
can't
point
believe
on
it's
it.
not butter. It's so smooth.
That was wonderful.
Thank
I
you.
actually have to commend you. That
Yeah.
really
Thank you.
that did it for me.
Nobody was taking their opportunity, and I slid in with a chance.
Yes.
There you go. This is already so
Skulking
on
ghoul
brand
you
for the
are.
day. I love it.
What is going on, everybody?
Well, that is the million-dollar question. What is going on?
Do you want to answer it?
Sure.
What's been going on for you, Mick?
Well, what has been going on for me? I've been on a lovely break for the last week after wrapping that movie we've talked about. It's been amazing. I have been drowning myself in films and television. Seen some good things, seen some not some good things. But yeah, it's been fun. We went and saw fucking Danny Elfman live
Oh yeah, we went and saw Danny
at the
That's so
Hollywood
fun.
Bowl.
That was, let me tell you, that man is the exact same age as my father. They were born in the same year, 1953. And
Yeah.
holy shit.
This guy's a punk
I
rocker.
have never seen a man look so fucking bomb at 69 years old. What the fuck?
Nice.
I feel like there's a joke in there.
He spent like almost most of the concert shirtless,
Yeah.
like playing his guitar or whatever instrument that he had, and he's just like tatted
He
up.
looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like fit, he's tatted, he's a little weird looking.
Yeah.
Right up my alley.
Funky teeth.
I got
Funky
to last year. I went and saw the Nightmare Before Christmas live concert, and the company that my girlfriend works for reps Danny Elfman, so we got to sneak into a box for free.
What?
Wow.
It was very fun, and yeah, he just
I'm in a
like
box.
what?
I'm in a box.
Share your fortune.
I don't like any of what's happening here. But, that was a great time. And again, just like such a fucking energetic performer for a guy of his age. It is ridiculous. I am jealous, though, because it was, the concert you guys went to was like...
It was Danny
his
Elfman,
music.
so it was like, he did overtures in between like every couple songs from like Oingo Boingo.
Oingo Boingo. That's his punk group.
Yeah,
which
like
is really
I never,
great.
like obviously, like I've heard maybe a couple of the songs before, but I never like, listened to like whole albums or anything. But I definitely will now because that shit it's weird, it's punk, which inherently punk should be weird. But yeah, no, it was great. The visuals that they had for the show, and even the opening performer
Boy
was
Harsher.
Boy Harsher. Very like 80s kind of gothcore vibe to it. I really loved it.
As you said, it would have fit perfectly with Stranger Things. I played some of the music of Boy Harsher and Oinga Boinga at the Halloween party when I got here.
Oh, okay, right on.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
I'm jealous you guys got to hear the Spider-Man theme live.
Oh yeah, the Spider-Man theme.
That kicks ass.
People lost their
Edward
shit.
Scissorhands. Of course, they did
Batman.
The Nightmare Before Christmas. They did Batman,
Which he
and,
sang live, of course, which was so great. He sounds so good.
his voice is incredible.
What's this? What's this? There's magic in the air.
What's this?
It's better when he does it, but
But I think we're good. I think we're sounding good.
Yeah, we sound.
When are we going to start our band? When are we going to start our offshoot band of this podcast?
I don't know when any of you guys fucking learn any instruments.
Mick plays guitar.
I have a guitar.
I see it literally in your room.
I can play the spoons.
Gathering dust.
Thanks, Alexis.
Clickety clack, clickety clack, clickety clack.
No, I literally went behind your guitar one day and there was just like literal spider webs like coming off
that's
of it.
there on purpose. It's from last Halloween.
So other than that, I got Mick to finally watch Hocus Pocus, and someone wasn't a fan.
I loved it. What are you talking about? No, I'm just kidding. Not my cup of tea.
Gaslighting. This is not a good way to start off Period Piece
Not my
Palooza.
cup of tea. But you know what? To be fair, I'm sure it would have been had I seen it when I was of the appropriate age. But watching it for the first time when you're 27, I don't know, didn't do it for me. But
That's fair.
It was good. It was a good time.
I just love Bette Midler. Anything that's kind of like
She's great.
outrageous and over the top, it's kind of fun for me.
Yeah, the problem with Hocus Pocus for me is that I watched each Witches of Eastwick before it, and I prefer Susan Sarandon, Cher, and Michelle Pfeiffer.
I mean,
as,
God,
No
I've got to
complaints
watch
there.
that movie. That's a hell of a cast.
you don't look up anything before you go into watching that movie. Just let it happen.
Does that happen to you?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's gonna slide in.
You're gonna be uncomfortable, and then you're gonna realize it's actually quite comfortable.
Okay.
You'll see what I mean. Alexis, would you agree with that?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think I spent like a good amount of time just in audacious what the fuck.
What the fuckery? Yeah.
Yeah, what the fuckery. But after a while, I was like, you know what? I'm not mad about it. And
Yeah.
in fact, I could sit here for a while in this. I don't know. Am I attracted to old men? Is that what's happening? I'm not attracted
you
to Jack.
can
I'm
be.
not attracted to Jack Nicholson. I'm definitely attracted to Danny Elfman. I don't know.
What
What do you mean you're not attracted to me?
we're
I'm a stud and a half.
we also watched
horny little devil.
Only Lovers Left Alive.
So good.
Which-
Okay, Tom Hiddleston.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
And Tilda Swinton.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Very
So
good.
delicious.
Yeah. Pass the gravy.
You guys have said more disgusting things on this podcast, but for some reason that's like up there in the most upsetting things I've heard from you. We need to pick a different voice because I didn't enjoy that one little bit.
Okay. But no, that was a good sentence. My friend Brooke recommended me to watch Only Lovers Left Alive a couple months ago. I saw it and was blown away by it. Really good. That's a Jim Jarmusch?
Yeah.
Jarmusch film?
Yeah.
I haven't seen much of his stuff. I saw the movie he did with Forrest Whitaker, Mad Dog, something like that.
Ghost
Dog. Ghost Dog. Yeah, that's what it is. I didn't love it, but yeah, Only Lovers Left Alive is really good. It gives me everything I want in a vampire movie. It really does. It's very contemplative and slow. It's a slice of life. It's one of those movies that doesn't really have a plot, but it definitely has a story. Great cast.
This
I love it.
movie
Check it out.
Vindicated my idea of what I would be like as a vampire, it would be exactly like this.
Yeah, it's the ideal vampire pair.
Yeah, because you're like, oh, you've lived hundreds of years. What do you have left than to just appreciate all that this world has to offer in its beauty?
Exactly.
And, like one of them collects books. One of my favorite kind of like little details was the fact that, they don't need to use anything, a fridge, but they keep some books in there to,
Yeah, there's just
keep
more
them
books in the
pristine.
fridge.
And then the other one collects instruments and music, and I don't know.
Yeah, they're these lost souls of time, and they have nothing but a thirst for knowledge, the arts, and blood. And is that not the most poetic thing?
Yes,
That's
but
why
they
I
also-
love vampires.
But they also they've come. It's been such a long time since they've really like tried to even feed in the normal way. Like they've
Yeah.
been getting blood from a different source, and they really savor it. As if
Oh,
they
yeah.
have like vintage kind of wines and stuff.
Yeah, a lot of vampire movies make the drinking of blood sexy, very sexual, but this film makes it.
It's like you're taking a little heroin.
Yeah, it's very euphoric. It's more like junkies.
Gotcha.
It's very interesting.
So you only have a little glass at a time.
I feel like casting Tilda Swinton as a vampire is such a coup. Like, I can't believe.
Perfect.
I don't think that happened before Only Lovers Left Alive, and that's like such a no-brainer decision.
Once you see the opening shot of Tilda Swinton as a vampire, you immediately go, she was destined for this.
It's also really enjoyable for me seeing Tilda Swinton like not be a more like reserved and repressed kind of character, because even though there are elements of that like in Only Lovers Left Alive, there's something inherently kind of fun and youthful about her as well.
Yeah.
Despite like the age difference between her and Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah.
I love her I love it when Tilda Swinton gets to go big. I love her in Snowpiercer.
Oh,
She
yeah.
is so good in that movie.
I haven't seen that in like almost a decade.
It's really
Yeah.
fun.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Love that.
What's going on with you, Zach?
What's going on with me? Well, I spent last night going to a couple of different Halloween parties, after which I went back to my girlfriend's place and put on Malignant, watched the first, like the opening scene before the credits, and then promptly passed out before she got back into the room, which is a shame because I love Malignant. It's so good. And I watched Shaun of the Dead yesterday, which is a very, very fun movie, and I think would be a good group costume some year.
Oh yes, absolutely.
You've got red on you.
Oh, and I watched Stuart Gordon's From Beyond, which, for any Reanimator fans out there, Stuart Gordon made another H.P. Lovecraft adaptation called From Beyond. It also stars genre legend Jeffrey Combs.
Jeffrey Combs.
Who, he is so good in every single thing I've seen him in. Reanimator is like an all-time great performance. He's great in The Frighteners, which isn't my favorite movie, but he's really good in it.
Is he in that?
Yes.
Who does he play?
He's like the cop who's after Michael J. Fox.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that's
I've
Jeffrey
only seen
Combs.
that once. Okay, I'll have to check that out again.
And he's also in Castle Freak, which spectacular movie. I
Also a
believe
Stuart
also
Gordon film.
yeah, also Stuart Gordon. Yeah. So that's what's been going on with me in terms of viewing films.
We've been busy.
Yeah, so to preface this, I was working on the same movie as Mick, as you all may know, and so I've been here for a week now.
Yeah, rent's due the day after tomorrow.
Yeah, I am in fact the fourth roommate of this week, and me and Mick, I got him to watch Fleabag, season 1 and 2. Yeah, we forgot to talk about that last time.
That's why I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah.
What a show. Have
Oh
you
my
seen
God.
that, Zach?
I've only seen the first
Oh, that's
few
right.
episodes. I
It's
need to
so
get
good.
back
It's
in.
so
It is
worth it.
hilarious.
Yeah. Where's Claire?
Where's Claire? That song was called Where's Claire?
Do you know what a bassoon is? It's a cry for help.
I'm so confused out here.
It's so good
None of
though.
this
Yeah, it's
means
really
anything to
worth
me.
watching. Zach, you mentioned that it kind of bummed you out which I completely agree with. Like, by the end of the first season, I was just straight up depressed on the couch because it's one of those shows that's like really funny, but then before you know it, it's also being extremely genuine and real, and you feel vulnerable just watching it.
It's because
it's great writing.
Yeah, because I mean, like, I definitely have identified with Fleabag's character in that. You know that you've done something fucked up in your life, and what can you do but push that shit down and ignore it until it hits you in the face. My favorite.
Stuff it deep down. Keep an eye on it.
Squash it deep down. And then, season 2, The Hot Priest. And there's nothing better. There's nothing better than a man written by a woman, played by a gay man. Those are absolutely
Who's playing a priest.
Who's playing a priest. It is, yeah. Right there. Right there. That's exactly what I want. And Phoebe Waller-Bridge absolutely knows that. I love remember I showed you that video clip of her accepting an award, and her mom told her that you can be absolutely anything in the world as long as you're outrageous.
And she has achieved that through and through. Congratulations to her.
She was a co-writer on a film directed by the same director who made the film we're talking about today.
No Time to Die.
That's correct. Yeah, she co-wrote the latest James Bond movie, which was all right.
Yeah, she also did Killing Eve, which is
That's a great
good show. Let's see here. Oh, you know what else we watched?
What did we watch?
Edward Scissorhands. Mick had never seen it.
I'd never seen it.
So
when
you'd never seen it?
Yeah,
But
so when we went to see Danny Elfman, the music started playing. I was like, fuck.
Oh, this is really
that
beautiful. And I was
sounds
like,
cool.
you've never seen this? Who are you?
I got tricked, though, because it's kind of a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
So it did
Yeah,
feel a little
that is-
weird.
I said that
That
Tim
is a
Burton
little
movies
offensive.
are honorary Halloween movies. But it is definitely a Christmas movie.
Tim Burton is a Shane Black type of guy. His movies are Christmas movies.
Dead air.
Tim Burton did direct one of my Christmas staples, which is Batman Returns. I love watching that movie at Christmas. I love that movie. It's so good.
Is that the one with Christopher Walken?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's Max Schreck.
That's Max Schreck.
And then we also watched Halloween, which Enrique had never seen.
Right.
So we put that on our list. And then I also got Mick to watch Notting Hill, because you know how we love Hugh Grant.
Oh, we do love Hugh Grant.
Mr. Hugh Mungo himself.
I'm sorry, this is
Mungo.
a travel
Grant.
bookshop.
And then, lastly, we rewatched Scream, because it's necessary multiple times a year.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Considering we went as Stu, you went as Stu, I went as Billy Loomis, and you went as the
I have the
amazing Sydney.
Yes.
Which you will probably be seeing photos of on our Instagram at Film
And
Majors.
now that it's
what
on-
kind of antics we got
Now
up to.
that it's on the podcast, we have to.
Yeah, we have to take pictures. Listen, guys, my mom's been bothering me for pictures. It's mostly for her.
Okay, we'll do it. Well, we're gonna look at some stills from the movie, and then we're gonna do some framing of that. So that should be fun. And speaking of, is there anything else you want to do for what's going on?
I think I'm good.
You think you're good?
So good.
Speaking of my favorite toxic men, Stu and Billy, we can move into our topic of the day, which is toxic men in films. Boop, 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 boop. What's happening?
My favorite toxic man, Elrond.
Yeah, Mick and I, while watching Rings of Power, came up with a very stupid bit. That's every time Elrond goes into battle, he's just blasting an air horn instead of a regular horn. The elves are coming!
That's no orc horn.
Elrond, stop!
All right, well, we got that out of our system.
Yeah, toxic men.
Toxic men.
I definitely should have turned down your levels for your
It's too late now.
yeah.
So,
Toxic men.
Toxic men.
I know
Do
a
it.
thing or two about them.
yeah, what makes
I just got it.
What makes a toxic man?
Oh.
A penis.
Well, no. You can be a
Growing up in American society.
That'll do it.
That'll pretty much do it.
That will do it.
Listen, I want to stick up for all of the toxic men without penises because you don't need to be cis to be toxic.
Wow, I love that. Yes,
Wow.
you're incredibly right.
I think I'm a toxic man.
I
for
was
saying
about to
that.
say, so this is super awkward. I think I might have to leave the apartment, but I may be included in this.
Yeah, in many ways, you don't even have to be a man to be toxic, but that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about toxic men.
Yeah.
And I feel like a staple of toxic men in film is Mr. Patrick Bateman.
Oh, yeah.
American Psycho.
That is what I mean. That movie is like a brilliant deconstruction of like toxic masculinity and the relation that has to capitalism. But I rewatched that for the first time in a while. I think last month. That movie is so funny.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
That performance that Christian Bale gives is like a world-class comedic performance.
Yeah, Christian Bale has said that himself. He said that's such a hilarious movie to watch again. And he said that while he was workshopping for that part, he would hang out in certain cafes and restaurants around Wall Street, hanging out with people like that,
he did
stockbrokers.
Yeah, he did also say that after the movie had come out, he was somewhere where there were like on some level or floor where there was just like a shit ton of stockbroker dudes,
Yeah.
and they like kept coming up to him telling him how much they loved that movie, and he was like, yeah, right, or ironically, right,
of, yeah,
and they're like,
satire.
no, we love it, and he was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay,
They were like confused. As, what do you mean? Ironically.
I think the conversation about toxic men in film goes hand in hand with real toxic men misconstruing movies that are critiques of toxic masculinity and
Yeah.
idolizing those characters.
Absolutely.
Another one that comes to mind is The Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort.
Yeah.
Well, we're just really talking about stockbrokers.
Yeah, I think there's a theme in that.
Yeah. Oh, one real quick thing about American Psycho. You know who Christian Bale based that performance on? Mr. Tom Cruise.
Yeah, I can see it.
No, he's trying to evoke Tom Cruise.
which really makes me think of Top Gun and how toxic those men, like Maverick, really is.
What are you talking about? Maverick's the coolest.
Yeah.
He's the coolest. He gets the job done.
He gets in the danger zone.
Yeah.
He gets the job done. No one else can do what he does.
Yeah, and he gets pussy without trying. We love that for him.
Exactly. Well, you know, and in many ways he gets dick by trying pretty hard.
Ooh.
Him and Iceman. They're trying hard.
The Iceman cometh.
He melts.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, no, that's a great choice. Patrick Bateman, fantastic.
My favorite thing that Mick brought up after I said this topic was,
Are you gonna steal it?
do you want to do it?
I want to do it.
Do it.
Okay. I know, Zach, you're going to love this. One of my favorite toxic male characters would have to be Reynolds Woodcock from Phantom Thread. Yeah, he's a little bitch. He's a little whiny bitch.
That is
he's
true.
this weird vampiric dress designer, I guess. And there's just something so appealing to me about how in the very end, when he does end up getting the girl, it's only after she's been poisoning him.
Spoilers for Phantom Thread.
When we get to this part of the podcast, it's fair game. That little smile that Woodcock gives to her when he drinks the mushroom soup and he knows, you poisoned this, didn't you? And she smiles, and then he smiles. That recognition of like, this is bad for both of us, and we're on the same playing field. I don't know. I love it. He's insufferable.
He's
it's hard to
incredibly
watch him.
manipulative.
Exactly. He's very
domineering,
manipulative.
controlling.
Which I brought this up, but Paul Thomas Anderson is just so good
Yeah.
at toxic men.
He has
All
a
of his
long
movies.
string of toxic men.
I was literally about to bring up another Daniel Day-Lewis performance from a Paul Thomas Anderson movie, Daniel Plainview, There Will Be Blood.
Plainview. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I abandoned my child.
I've abandoned my boy!
Love it. Living
Have you
Forever.
seen that?
I have not
has
seen
been
it.
had.
Alexis, you have not seen There Will
I've
Be
watched
Blood.
like the first like 15 to 20 minutes like a couple times, and I've never seen the rest
Well,
of the movie.
speaking of Period Piece Palooza, that's one of my favorite period pieces.
Yes.
Okay.
It's amazing.
Mick, you're just a
Amazing.
bastard from a basket. A bastard from a basket!
It's amazing that
Sweet
came
baby
out
Jesus.
the same year as No Country for Old Men. Filmed so close that the film sets could even see one another.
Yeah. There was, No Country for Old Men had to stop filming because there's a oil rig explosion
Yeah.
and there will be blood that they could see from their set.
So cool. But anyways, that's my choice.
That's your choice?
Yeah.
You did bring up one other, which was Edward Cullen.
He's one of my all-time favorite toxic men.
It's because you like watching people sleep, isn't that it? That's gotta be it.
Well, yeah, I identify with that, sure.
It's not people.
I
okay.
identify with that,
Excuse
sure.
me, it's not people, it's me. Let's be specific with who he's
Well,
watching
Zach,
sleep.
I've expanded my net lately.
What do you mean you've expanded your net?
Yeah.
Are you watching other people?
No.
I mean, I've been here for a week.
I feel so
I'm not
fucking
surprised.
betrayed. I feel so fucking betrayed. I feel cheap.
Yeah, so Edward Cullen, I'm sorry. When she walks in and the fan blows and you just see him catch her scent and he just loses it.
Jesus.
Chafing-
Talk about period piece.
Yeah.
Alexis Sylvania, ladies and gentlemen. And her orchestra. Watch out for that Hitler. He's a bad egg. Yeah, no. Edward Cullen. It's so
Someone
funny.
needs to tell Kanye that.
Yeah, no, let's keep that away. Don't put that on Twitter. You will take his phone away. We'll talk about this later, but I'll make this brief. I held off on watching the Twilight movies for so long because deep down, the middle school and high school version of me was afraid I was going to really like it. And sure enough, I unironically love the Twilight Saga, and I've always firmly been on Team Edward rather than Team Jacob.
Yeah,
Team
Jacob's a little
Jacob.
bitch.
He's a little bitch, but he's just so thirsty and not nearly manipulative enough for me.
Yeah,
That's why
and
Edward takes the
love
prize.
The obsessive quality of toxic men. At least this is coming from a deep-seated place of probably drama talking that I've worked through in therapy, but.
These are the eyes of a killer, Bella.
But I always had a thing for those characters who had this like really obsessive quality to them, like Edward.
Yeah.
Because he can't.
Well-
He both wants the best for her, but he can't live without her, and everything it goes into motion because he needs to have her.
Well, it's so appealing when you have a character that is so
Like Dracul.
like Dracul, who is so enticing, but they spend so much of their time going, no. I'm dangerous for you. Save yourself. Keep away. But yet they keep pulling you in, and then
Yeah.
you keep wanting to go in because they keep pushing me away. It's like,
Yeah.
God damn it, let me in.
I have something that's close to that.
How we doing, guys?
Let me in.
Let the right one in.
Slippery
That's a good
slide
movie.
in. One of my one of my favorites is the Phantom from the Phantom of the Opera.
Christine!
The hills are alive. Well, that's a
No,
different
wrong one.
With the sound of opera.
No.
Alexis? Sing, my angel.
And that's
music.
how he died.
No. So
For those of you who didn't know, Alexis used to sing opera.
I did once upon a time, and now I spend all my time with you fools.
It's a step up.
It's a different kind of dramatic, a different kind of theatric.
Yeah.
But Mick, you have seen me watch The Phantom of the Opera. I did show you that movie one time, and you weren't super into it, but by golly, I could feel your eyes on me when the very end scene comes, and I'm just profusely crying. I'm like
Bawling.
sobbing there.
Yeah.
Like I could not stop. And it's all just because that very end scene where he starts singing Masquerade, Paper Faces on Parade, Masquerade. Hide your face so the world will never find you. And I'm just like, I understand how that feels. So even right now, just that almost made me cry.
No, Andrew Lloyd Webber musicals get me like that. Like when they're like the Rum Tum Tugger is a curious cat. I start tearing up. I'm like, I get that. I'm a curious cat.
Yeah.
Jellicle.
But also the Phantom's fucking problem is that, you know, like he wants this girl and he's willing to do anything to have this girl and have his way. And yet he has this like inherent darkness in him, which brings me to my next character, JD from Heathers. Homicidal maniac. I don't know what it is about them.
They're just so enticing.
Yeah, I'm like Billy Loomis.
Yeah.
Stu.
So what is it about? I feel like we've hit on the head pretty hard that we find toxic men appealing to a certain degree.
Yeah.
What do we think is it that appeals to you about toxic men in film or otherwise?
Because I can fix him.
Stop throwing my words at me.
I wanted to say it before you did because I knew you were going to say it.
What were we watching that I said that?
Something fucked up for sure.
Oh my god, yeah, no, fucking, I think I was there for that. Oh, what did you say?
I don't even know. Oh, Brahms! That's
Yes.
what we watched! We watched The Boy!
Oh,
We watched The Boy!
We didn't talk about the
Talk
boy.
about toxic
Boy.
men!
Oh, no, he's just a little boy.
Brahms! My poor slighted Brahms.
yeah.
That's what I said. I
yeah,
said, I can fix
The
him.
man in the walls with a mask on with his horrendous beard and sickly skin.
When you find out it's not a poltergeist,
Yeah.
it's just an actual dude in the walls.
That's, again, my favorite genre is surprise there's someone in the walls. And
Well, that's...
I showed them The Boy specifically because I knew that we were going to be covering this film.
yeah,
and it
it's
took a
perfect.
while to like sell them on it. But I got them in, and I feel like there was sort of a general sense of like, why are we watching this like kind of shitty PG-13 horror movie? And then when Brahms comes up bursting out of the wall,
I was like, oh, shit!
Yeah,
At
Alexis
last-
was like, show us his face. Show us his face.
Yeah,
Why
let's
are
see
you
if
taking
he's
the mask
cute."
off? And he's a murderous burn
Okay,
victim.
but then I looked up who played him later, and I was like, well, damn, this man looked kind of good.
I know, I was upset that he was hot. I was upset. Like,
It
goddamn it.
vindicated me, and Mick never likes that.
also, you know, we didn't, speaking again, kind of ties into this movie, we didn't need to cast a hot guy as Brahms. Brahms is all burnt up.
Okay, I mean, fair. That's fine.
So,
More roles for the ugly.
Rules for the ugly. Yeah. So speaking of homicidal maniacs, JD from Heathers. When we do eventually end up doing some sort of like teen flick movie month, Heathers will definitely be on the list. Maybe Jawbreaker, I don't know, but I do love JD because it's Christian Slater in the 90s. That man was spicy, steamy hot, you know? And he was in a trench coat, and I fucking love trench coats.
yeah.
There's an actor in the movie Ginger Snaps who looks eerily like Christian Slater.
I thought that too when I saw Ginger Snaps for the first time.
I've never seen that.
Like I watched it a couple of years ago, but I was
Fun
like,
movie.
ooh, definitely got that gothic vibe. So I loved that.
God, can you imagine? Speaking of toxic men, God, can you imagine being in the same room as Christian Slater and James Spader in the 90s? Now that is a radioactive
James Spader
toxic waste sandwich right
Plays
there.
a very good toxic man.
He does, because again,
Yeah.
it's enticing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's trying to push you away, but you want to
I
be close
want
to him.
in.
And
I mean, like him in Sex, Lies, and Videotape, literally just like
Yeah, I mean that's a perfect example.
Yeah.
I mean he has some toxic traits. I wouldn't call him a toxic man in that
No,
movie,
but
but
I
he
mean-
has that level of no, stay away. I'm,
Broken.
I can't be loved.
Yeah.
because I'm such.
it's inherently toxic. But for him, eventually he did break out of that. So
Yeah.
it's fine. He learned, he grew. A lot of the men on our list do not learn or grow.
No.
Yeah.
so, speaking of men who try to push people away,
Yes.
shall we get into the film that we're discussing today?
Absolutely. I've
Let's
been
do
waiting.
it.
I chose this movie because I thought it would be a nice little segue out of Spooky Month because it's a gothic,
Yeah.
kind of romance
I
novel.
appreciated it.
It's a haunted house movie.
There
in
are
a lot of
spooky
ways.
moments in this.
There's a woman in the walls.
I'm in your walls, I'm in your walls, I'm in your walls,
Bewitched
I'm in
my
your walls.
holes.
And we are talking about 2011's Jane Eyre, directed by Cary Fukunaga, who also did 2009's Sin Nombre, which is a very, very, very good movie. The person who did the score was Dario Marianelli, who also did the score for 2007 Atonement and 2005's Pride and Prejudice.
There we go. Wow,
Two of my favorites.
You know,
he was really spending time in your wheelhouse, Alexis.
Yeah.
Oh, all throughout high school, I had just like one specific playlist that was like movie scores, and there was so much Dario Marianelli in there. I absolutely love that man. He just his scores make me fucking feel something, and let me tell you this: at that age, it was a little hard. So.
Cary Joji Fukunaga also directed what is, in my opinion, the best season of television ever, which is True Detective Season 1.
I
And
never saw that.
it is spectacular. Also very gothic. It's more Southern Gothic, but yeah, I love that show. And he is very good at evoking a sort of somber, mournful vibe, which Jane Eyre has in spades.
That's the whole aesthetic.
Yes.
Pretty much.
I mean, yeah, it's
Very drab.
Incredibly drab.
Except for one key portion of the film, which I think Alexis will get to, which I thought was a very interesting creative choice.
Yeah, so, Alexis, when you said that you first watched this movie in high school?
Yeah, so I would have been a junior in high school the year that this dropped, and at that time, especially in high school, I was still very much like, oh, I just want to be a writer, I want to be a writer. So I was reading a lot of like the classics. So I did read Jane Eyre at some point. You know, every time you do like a new kind of literary adaptation, they want to bring something new to the table or kind of reinvent it in some way. And whether or not that falls short of what each novel kind of is, you know, to be determined by each person that watches it. Because for me, a lot of times I'm like, you know, if you're not perfect at adapting it, it doesn't always matter to me as long as like the story makes me feel something, you know? Like, to be fair, Mr. Rochester in the book is, oh my god, he's kind of awful. Like, I mean, not that he's so great in the movie, but he's extra cruel, and he's definitely not as fucking attractive as Michael Fassbender is.
That is something that I wanted to bring up, because I think I read this book my junior year of high school, and the main thing that I remember is that both Jane and Rochester
are supposed to be homely looking.
Yes, and ain't nothing homely about either of the leads of this movie.
Yeah, they do try their best to
particularly
make Mia
Wasikowska?
Wasikowska, yeah. Wasikowska. That's what it is.
Wasikowska.
Yeah,
Wasikowska.
They try desperately their hardest to make her look not beautiful.
Her hair is pretty shitty in this movie.
Oh my god, yeah, that wig. Holy shit. War crime.
Me over here thinking the whole time, damn, she's beautiful.
Well, yeah,
I'm not even kidding.
She is. But that's like the thing is like she always talks about how plain and little she is. But I mean, in many ways, I think that just kind of speaks to her place in society and how she views herself, being obviously coming from a background of not being loved at all.
Yeah.
So
that fucking orphanage, holy shit.
Yeah.
It was not technically an orphanage. A lot of those kids.
Is it just a boarding house?
Yes, it's a home for girls,
it's
right?
a home for girls. So
okay.
essentially, it's like, you know, sometimes people can't necessarily like afford to like have their kids at home, you know, so they basically kind of like, it's almost like giving them away to the state, kind of, you know, to be like, well, we want you to grow up nice and to be able to fend for yourself, but we kind of can't do that for you here. You know, we can't send you to school here, so we're just gonna put you over there.
When they put her up on the pedestal of infamy, I had a moment where I was like, this is the future that Republicans want. Just
absolutely.
A little girl
The good old days.
being forced to stand in the middle of a room and be publicly shamed and beat with a stick.
Yeah.
Were you thrashing her flesh? I'm so sorry. No, that's your job.
Yeah,
To,
literally.
Yeah, it's so great. Deny her your love.
It's your job to mortify her flesh in, what was it, the pursuit of bettering her?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the pursuit
The
of
pursuit
betterment.
of her betterment.
Yeah.
Good God.
I do enjoy the representation of close female friendships between her and Helen, and how women essentially, girls especially, have to like band together in their suffering when they're like at the mercy of the institutions of men.
Yeah.
So I do really enjoy that.
And this whole fucking movie captures that so well.
Yeah, and you know,
really, really well.
And something that I actually don't mind in this movie that I do mind in like a lot of other movies is its representation of God and Christianity, because Charlotte Bronte, the woman who wrote Jane Eyre, she was one of the daughters of a Victorian curate, which is essentially a priest. So it does come through every once in a while, this whole kind of idea of like spirituality and stuff in the movie, and then just also like Jane's moral kind of rigidness that I think is a good proponent of her leaving Mr. Rochester, because he essentially tells her, like, stay with me, live with me, I will love only you even though I am married. And she's like, I can't lower myself like that, you know?
Gotta put a ring on it.
Well, you know, it's interesting that Charlotte Bronte has that background, because, I mean, I don't know, maybe I was just focusing on it more, but in the film, quite a few times, male characters use the path of divinity, this divine right by God of what you are destined to do, you as a woman, what your purpose is. And it's all such utter horseshit. And the movie is saying that. The book, I would imagine, is saying that, of these men use God as a tool, just like they do with the women and the people around them. Everyone serves a purpose.
Yeah.
A useful purpose.
I don't remember what meme I saw this in, but it was basically like, the church is just the creation of man to control society. And I was like, yeah, I went to Catholic school for 9 years. I knew that, you know? I'm like, not a big news flash, but yeah, I'm here for it.
The desecration of spirituality is organized religion.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts
Read
at the
that
very
on a bottle
beginning.
once.
You muttered that after sipping out of a bottle once. That's
I read it on a Guinness Gay pen.
I was about to say.
I won't tell anybody.
Yeah, no, at the very beginning of the movie, he says, Jane Eyre, what is hell? And she says, it's a pit full of fire. And he says, and how might you stay away from it? And she says, I must keep in good health and not die.
That cracked me
Yeah,
up.
that shit was hella funny. Because she's being sassy to, like, a man at such a young age. And I think
they hate a smartass.
It automatically, like, characterizes her as someone kind of on the fringe of societal expectations, like, right away. Yeah.
It shows she's clever.
Shows she's clever. It shows that she has this like inherently rebellious kind of spirit that can't be broken despite everyone's best efforts.
It carries her throughout the film.
Sally Hawkins.
Oh my God.
I love her. She's also been in a Jane Eyre, not a Jane Eyre, a Jane Austen adaptation, Persuasion, in 2008.
Which is very good. Was
And
that a BBC or was that a?
That's BBC.
That was BBC.
Yeah,
right.
That's my favorite rendition of Persuasion, and it's short, it's quiet, it's exactly what Persuasion should be.
Yeah, I have to give you a shout out probably on the podcast as a personal note. Thank you for essentially being my shaman when it comes to Victorian era literary adaptations. I've seen so much and I love it as a genre. I feel just good watching
to
them.
be fair,
it's
I've
such
just
great stories.
Shown Mick quite a lot of like female-centered stories over the years, queer and female-centered stories.
Yes.
So it's been fun, and he's always like pleasantly surprised at how good they are.
Yeah, that's how it feels every time. I feel like I'm on a magic carpet ride.
Speaking of queer-centered stories, we have a returning actor from another movie that we covered.
Wait, who is it? Hold on.
Mr. Jamie Bell.
Yes,
Who
Mr.
was
Jamie Bell.
also in Rocket Man.
Yes.
Oh,
he's Bernie
yeah.
Taupin.
God, that goes way back.
I love Jamie
Yeah,
Bell.
second episode.
I've loved him ever since I saw Billy Elliot as a kid. Love myself a dancing man.
I had a thing about Jamie Bell. And it's that...
Go on.
Two things. Number one, I feel like this is kind of one of the first movies I've seen him in where he's a prick. Like, he initially seems like sort of a benevolent presence, but once you get to the end and he's trying to force Jane to marry him, and telling her she has to give up this unlawful passion for Mr. Rochester. I'm like, oh, okay, no, you also suck. Fuck you.
No, he's from the very moment he meets her, he's vetting her.
Yeah.
It's so apparent every fucking time I watch it because he goes into the school and he asks her, "Do you find the work tiresome?" And she's like, "No, it's fine." And it's, it asks her, like, is it too much for her? And that's literally, he's just like, could be a good wife.
And then once she gets that bag, he's like, oh, yeah, no, this should be my wife.
Yeah, absolutely.
You should definitely be my wife. You should come with me on all my missions and maybe fund my missions.
Here, I had a note about that. It's interesting. I didn't pick up on it the first time, but you're right. In hindsight, that's completely what he was doing.
Yeah.
He was completely conditioning and workshopping that a little bit.
No, it's because he sees who he is and how his life is, and all he can see women as is how can they fit into the life that I've created for myself.
They serve a purpose.
Because the men are the only ones with agency. Exactly.
The line, "You were God always intended you to be a missionary's wife." I wrote down, man, all these janky-ass men trying to explain to Jane again and again what she's either meant for or good for is so belittling.
Yeah.
Like, that's what this movie is.
Yeah.
Men telling her what you're good for, as it relates to me, a man. And it's just, no wonder she's so fucking exhausted with all this shit.
Oh, yeah.
Like that, when he said that, you were meant to be a missionary's wife. First of all, I don't like missionaries already. I don't like that.
You.
That just really, really bugged me.
The only thing as sickening or even more sickening than that is all the times that Mr. Rochester talks about how pure and kind of precious Jane is and how she's going to reinvigorate his life and essentially kind of get rid of all the bad. Like, oh, wow, look at you. You are an interesting, overlooked, poor girl who can solve all of my problems if you will just be mine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My wife.
Place you in a cage.
Oh, yeah. And
if you were set free, you would thrive.
Yes. Okay, so
inside of my walls.
He very specifically tells her that I can see you're like a special sort of bird in a cage, and if only you were set free, you would soar sky high. And it's very clear that he doesn't like dishonesty. Probably because it's kind of fucked up his life a bit. But he's mad at one point in the movie talking about how Adele, his like young little French girl, which, maybe we should have started this by actually explaining what the movie's about.
Yeah, what is Jane Eyre about?
So basically... Alright, here we go.
Yeah, we're about 50 minutes in. What's Jane Eyre about?
We're good at this.
We're so good at this. Okay, so Jane Eyre, a Victorian novel by Charlotte Bronte. Jane Eyre, our protagonist, comes from a rather rich family. Both of her parents have died. She's being taken care of her Aunt Reed at this place called Gateshead. And oh my God, this woman's children are utterly spoiled and they terrorize Jane. And she's basically like verbally and emotionally and physically kind of abused. And then she pisses the lady off enough that she gets sent to this school for girls, and she spends like a good 8 to 10 years there, essentially learning how to become a governess, which is pretty much kind of the only form of employment that was like higher up than a servant that a young girl could really do at that point in time. It was like kind of your only sense of agency if you didn't have any money. And so she gets employed to work for Mr. Rochester, taking care of his ward, Adele, who is a young, maybe about, 8 to 10 year old French girl. And they kind of imply that possibly she might be Mr. Rochester's illegitimate child. Mommy.
It's very French.
How very French.
Yeah.
And basically...
Are you my daddy, Mr. Rochester?
Oh my God.
That's my French accent.
The great thing about Zach is that he laughs at his own jokes so that we don't have to.
Yep.
Isn't that the great thing about me, too?
That's why I love both of you.
That's the great thing about all of us.
You were saying?
And so basically she comes on to help. Mr. Rochester meets her. He's immediately intrigued by her and yet spends the rest of the time kind of manipulating her into thinking that he's going to marry this beautiful woman, young Miss Ingram, and instead asks Jane to eventually marry him. And Jane says yes, not realizing that there is a woman in the walls.
She's in your walls, she's in your walls, she's in your walls, she's in your walls.
And in fact, she's actually in a very high tower, but she does come out at night. It's more spoopy in the novel, but Nor.
Boop.
And so eventually, obviously, Jane Eyre finds out that he is in fact already married to the woman in the tower. Yikes. Super yikes.
Hate it when someone's already married to a lady in the walls.
Gets you every time, you know? And so she takes off, and she ends up meeting St. St. John, is kind of what they call him, St. John. And Rivers, I think is his last name. And
John Rivers.
Yeah,
John
Thomas
Rivers.
the Tank Engine.
Yeah. She's there with them, and she goes, and she's like at a fucking like little homely fucking school for village girls, and then she finds out that she has inherited a lot of money, so she goes back for Mr. Rochester, and what do you know it? His wife burned down the whole fucking place.
What a
and
surprise.
blinded him.
For some reason, she didn't like being in the walls.
That's so crazy, isn't it?
She just tried to expand the space.
What a fucking
Just wanted
loony.
a window.
Yeah, exactly.
What a psycho.
Burn it down. Which I
but
want to
he
talk
did-
about how fire plays into this film, but please
He did,
continue.
in fact, go back for her, and that is the reason why he is blinded, because she set fire to everything. She was on the roof, I believe, of the mansion, castle, palace,
Yes.
whatever the fuck you want to call
The
it.
manor.
The manor.
The manor. She's at the top, and so he went back in to try and save her, but she already had flung herself to death, and he went blind as a result, and Jane Eyre gets to come in and swoop him up for
Karma's a
all of
bitch.
his... I don't know.
Yeah,
Scraggly self.
It's
I know.
interesting. Yeah, Jane finally is with Rochester after he is now completely dependent on her.
Yeah.
He no
Yeah.
longer has any means to manipulate her.
Which is a very interesting take, because Charlotte Bronte herself was single for quite some time, and then I think in her like 20s, or like maybe by the time she was 30, she married a man who was like very, very older than her, like probably in his like 50s or 60s. So she kind of had the same kind of trajectory, because she was also a governess at one point.
Oh, wow.
So yeah.
So this story was very important to her, sounds like. It was very much her life.
Yeah, I think, I think for most women during that age, writing was a sense of agency. I mean, Jane Austen herself famously never got married. She died a spinster.
Yeah.
So I think, it's a way of having love in a world that kind of says that love's not possible. You just have to take what is best for you economically.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, getting back to Mr. Rochester not liking lying, even though he's a fucking fat manipulative liar
He
himself.
is such an insidious creature.
But he's such a hunk.
Well, he
Oh,
is,
good
but
God,
like
I know.
I mean, literally the definition of
Tasty.
insidious is something that is calm and something that kind of pulls you in, but actually is of a very sinister nature. And that's exactly what Mr. Rochester is.
I mean, he very admittedly kind of says that, like, there's this kind of like hulking darkness in him, and that's why
Yeah,
he
but-
meets Jane.
And that's why he's so sexy.
I hate that though, because again, I talked about it when we were watching it. Like a couple of times, he alludes to the fact that he's not a good person.
Yeah.
And, would you turn me away if I were to, tell you my dark secrets? Would you walk out on me like I'm sure everyone else at this party would? Yeah. And she's like, no, I mean, I would stay, because she does not have the context to what he's talking about. And then he says something like, oh, I'm so transfixed by you because I'm not giving you the full picture. And you're saying exactly what I want you to say because I'm only giving you so much. And he latches on to this fantasy of his own ignorance,
Yeah.
where he's just trying so much to avoid the consequences of his actions, setting things into play, and of course it all comes burning down, literally.
Well, in this rendition of Jane Eyre, I definitely feel that Mr. Rochester paints himself as this kind of victim of his own circumstances.
Yeah.
One thing that I find very interesting is, like, during his first conversation with Jane, he says, will you consent to speak with me as an equal? And he constantly brings up this theme, like, we are equals, we are equals. And she says, like, at the end of the conversation where he's, like, talking about having this, like, beautiful woman in white save him, she tells him, I fear you will degenerate just more, which is essentially what happens. But he's mad at Adele's mother, who was probably some sort of, like, courtesan in fucking France or whatever.
I thought she was the one in the walls.
Adele's mom?
Yeah.
No. So Adele is his ward, which means, like, he's taking her on to take care of her.
Right.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
not his legitimate child. They
right,
say
yeah.
that possibly this may be his child with that French woman, but, like, how could he ever know? But
Yeah.
basically he's stuck with her. And so he's mad at her, Adele's mother, for being disingenuous to get his money, even though he lies to Jane over and over again, manipulating him for his own happiness.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, and he kind of pins Jane as the helper. Since she is on the fringe of society, as his governess, she's the only one he can turn to in keeping Bertha a secret when Bertha attacks somebody, like, late at night, you know? He tells all of his guests, you know, no worries, everyone go back to bed, and then has Jane come over to help him kind of keep that a secret without even telling her what it's about.
I was gonna ask because that was unclear to me.
Yeah.
What did happen to that guy?
Yeah,
like
well,
his neck was lacerated.
He's Bertha's brother. So he comes in. So Mr. Rochester's having this party with Miss
Right.
Ingram and her family and all these people from, like, higher society, and Mason, I believe is his name. He comes in to visit, and Mr. Rochester's like, okay, actually, we got to go to a different area of the house, like, away from my guests. And at some point, Mason must have made his way to that room that leads to the room that Bertha lives in, and must have tried to get in contact with her, and she attacked him. So
Which makes so much sense where, he's like, keep sponging the wound if it keeps bleeding, but do not speak a word to him. And then says to him, do not utter a word to her.
on
penalty of death.
Death,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like, it's all so obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She's
so-
kind of a castle freak if you think about it.
Yeah. In the book, she's like this, like, bulging purple kind of monsterish figure.
Even more of a castle freak.
Yeah, instead of being just like a woman, like, in the way that they portrayed in this, she might just have, like, bipolar, or whatever,
They toned it down a bit.
Or indeed, she could just be upset with the way her life has ended up, and she's pissed.
She might, yeah.
No.
I watched this with Sloan this morning, and I was like, "Oh, she's crazy." And Sloan was like, "Is she crazy, or is she just pissed off that she's trapped in the walls?" And I was like, "Why would you be mad
Is
about
she
that?"
crazy, or has everyone made her crazy?
Yeah.
Well, the way that Mr. Rochester kind of paints it, he says that, like, we were married for, like, 4 years, and her tempers went unchecked, and she was unchaste, which makes me think that maybe she was, like, screwing around, because, like, chaste means usually to be kind of, pure or whatever.
Yeah.
In your intentions and actions. So I don't know. She's also a Latin woman. I think she's supposed to be Creole or something like that.
Yeah, they got
Yeah.
married in Jamaica.
They got married in
Spanish town, Jamaica.
So obviously, Mr. Rochester's money comes from colonial exploitation, and also his marriage comes from some sort of colonial exploitation. And so it's very interesting that she's like a Latin kind of woman who's portrayed as being crazy because she has a fiery temper and is...
Yeah, I'm sure the white upper class in England
Well, I mean, like,
terrified
for
by
the
that.
period of Victorian
Yeah.
England and all the sexual repression, like, that is classified as being crazy. As
Oh,
being,
yeah, it didn't take much.
Being full of the devil because you're full of passion.
Yeah, I
and
mean, look
sex.
at Dracula.
Yeah, that
movie
circles
is
back.
the horror of Dracula is, oh my god, women can be horny.
Terrifying. She's a witch. I have to say, speaking of sexual repression, I wrote down a quote from Alexis watching this movie just now. She went, there's nothing more sexual than repression. And,
Yeah, I'll
you're
agree
not
with you
wrong.
on that.
Yeah, you are not wrong.
Yeah. I mean... I don't know.
Do we have anything
Say
more on
less.
that?
I think it speaks for itself.
I'm going to leave that right there.
You see that? You see that pin? We're just gonna pin in it.
Yes, we love that. Oh, one thing that I also really love is constantly the director is placing Jane in front of windows, which brings us back to her original statement, which was something about, if I could behold all that I imagine, and she says that I fear that my whole life will pass without ever seeing, essentially the rest of the world. So he's constantly placing her in front of these windows with, always a pane of glass between her and the outside world, always showing how she is essentially caged in and restricted.
Yes.
Which,
It
always kind of reminds me of Elvis.
Oh boy.
I'm caught in a trap.
We'll get back to that next month.
Yes.
It all comes back to Elvis.
I swear to God, I could literally loop any movie back to Elvis.
That's what makes it a classic.
It's what makes you guys, we were talking a lot about Obsession, and it's a classic example.
I'm sorry, Zach, but here's the thing about Alexis looping things back to Elvis is never once when it has happened have I thought, oh, that's a reach. I'm always like, no, I see that. I'm like, I see the bridge there.
Your brain is also poisoned. Oh, quick little sidebar. Edwin showed my mom Moulin Rouge, and my mom said that is her new favorite movie.
Because it's incredible.
It's a great film.
I stand behind that movie every goddamn day of my life since I was literally 7 years old.
How wonderful life is. You know the rest.
When you're in the world.
Nice. Okay. I love it. I'm living for it. So Toxic Men, we love them. Unfortunately.
I wrote down in my notes, the wedding, the proof of impediments is when the walls begin to close in. Oh wait, Bertha is in the walls. Oh no, worst wedding ever. I was writing that down, like the walls are closing in, and literally the scene starts like, oh Jesus. It's like,
that is not how I thought that I don't remember if I actually finished reading Jane Eyre or if I did and it was just so long ago that I don't remember a lot of it. Yeah. That is not how I thought for some reason I thought the In the Walls reveal happened when she burned the place down.
Oh, no.
So I did not expect it to come in that quick, and I did write down A+ on the Wife in the Walls reveal. Super funny, no notes.
Super funny.
Yeah.
It is funny. Anytime someone's in the walls, it's hysterical.
One of the worst weddings I've ever seen. Like, he just grabs her. It's like, stop with the theatrics. So 10 years too late.
You're 15 years too late.
15 years too late.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Also, when he takes her to the chapel, he's like dragging her.
Yeah, for real.
Because he knows that shit's gonna go down and he's hoping he can get married to her first.
It's so sad and pathetic.
It is, because it's like, it's inevitable, honey, that either your marriage is not gonna be real an hour after the ceremony or during the ceremony. Either way, it's not happening.
It's so pathetic the way it's like, are there any objections? I object! They're proof of impediments. Keep going. Shut up. Keep going. Go.
Okay, and then also, he's like literally sleeping outside of her door later that night, begging her to stay. He's like, I will pledge you my fidelity, my heart, my everything.
Fidelity?
And she's like, sir, you are already married. And he's like, what of that? And I'm like, sir, that's everything.
I know.
And she's like, there's a lady in your walls.
Yeah.
This cannot continue.
God, he says something about, what is it? Oh yeah, that he, Mr. Rochester says, would you torture me by turning away my hand for merely breaking some mere human law?
And she says, I'm sorry, sir, but I must respect myself.
It just says so much about the both of them in that little interaction that I really enjoy. I love it when a film or a book just tells you everything you need to know about a couple of characters just through a few lines of dialogue.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, there is the speech that she makes to Rochester earlier in the movie where she's like, if were I not so small and plain, I could make it more as difficult for you to leave me as it is for or no, for me to leave you than for you to leave me, or something like that.
Yeah.
That's a phenomenal speech.
Twice this man has duped her because the first time he's like, I have to leave because of your wife. And she's like, I have no wife. Liar. And he says, but you are to be married. And he's like, Jane, you must stay. And she says, to become nothing to you. I don't know, just the entire fucking speech. Is that one, and then in Persuasion, the letter that Captain Wentworth writes. Those stick with me forever. Do you want me to read it?
Yes.
Okay. She says, am I a machine without feeling? Do you think because I'm poor, plain, obscure, and little that I am soulless and heartless? I have as much soul as you and full as much heart. And if God had possessed me with beauty and wealth, I could make it as hard for you to leave me as to leave you. I'm not speaking to you through mortal flesh. It is my spirit that addresses your spirit, as if we'd passed through the grave and stood at God's feet, equal as we are. And then he says, as we are. And she says, I'm a free human being with an independent will, which I now exert to leave you.
That's such a good line.
So good.
I'm glad you paused it about how this is going to come back later, and then that scene comes.
Yes.
And it's very, very powerful.
Is Mr. Rochester, would he be considered a Byronic hero?
I think I've read some things where like people have done that, but I don't know enough about Byronic heroes to kind of
They're like
talk on that.
Sort of rebellious and passionate and brooding. They're all from this sort of time period and inspired by Lord Byron. I was in a play called Arcadia that a lot of it centers around
Did you
Lord
play Byron?
No, I played a guy studying Lord Byron. It's in two time periods.
I was in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, about Mary Shelley, and I played Lord Byron. And
nice.
I have to say, it was so interesting at the end of the show when you go out into the lobby, and I had so many wonderful, kind people go up to me going, you were such a good asshole. I hated you.
I had the same thing in Arcadia because this dude is trying to prove that this, I believe this poem was written by Lord Byron, and he's getting in like a tiff with this historical scholar named Hannah, who he's also kind of having a thing with. And he gets into an argument with this mathematician and is screaming about how much he hates scientists and mathematicians. And he's like, I'd chuck the whole lot of you off a cliff if I could, except the one in a wheelchair. I think I might essentially, I think people might be pissed off before they could think it through.
Damn,
so essentially,
okay.
I did a speech where I talked about how much I wanted to push Stephen Hawking off a cliff.
Wow.
Which was a blast, and I had a great time.
That's me as Lord Byron.
We gotta
college.
post that. Yeah,
Wow.
we should. When we post this episode, I'll put pictures from both of those plays on our story.
Do you guys want a picture of me in a bonnet? I have one.
Oh yeah,
I've seen that.
1,000%.
It's great.
That will be what I post to promote this
I'll
episode.
send that picture to you.
All of us in these
These
English
Victorian-
period
You gotta
plays.
take like a screen grab of like Jane Eyre and then like put all Photoshop all of us into that, and none of ours is gonna be period accurate for Jane Eyre, but it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I don't think that
Bunch
Mr.
of thespians in
Rochester
here.
could be considered a Byronic character. Personally, to me,
Yeah.
because rebelliousness, I mean, he did not rebel at the right time, which would have been getting married to Bertha, because he accepted the fact that it's money. It's money that your dad is essentially being like, you have to marry her because of money and blah, blah, blah. And he goes along with it. And yeah, he's fucking pissed about it. But to me, it seems like not rebelliousness. It seems to me like he's throwing a tantrum about circumstances that he agreed to himself.
Yeah, he is sowing the seeds that he planted pretty much. Like he made his bed and he's sleeping in it. I don't know, maybe it's a simplistic view, but I think he's just a dumb fucking male who's really well spoken.
I'm gonna say, I feel like that applies to some Byronic heroes. I feel like this is the definition I pulled up of Byronic heroes, which is a type of fictional character who is a moody, brooding rebel, often one haunted by a dark secret from his past. I feel like that applies to Mr. Rochester.
Isn't there an inherent victimization in that, though, or am I just projecting that? Because I don't view him as a victim. He's a victim of his own actions and ignorance.
I think that can apply.
Okay.
Also, I pulled up a picture of various Byronic heroes, and Mr. Rochester is there.
All right, well,
So
can't argue with Google.
All right,
Google's
thank you,
on
Google.
my
The
side.
algorithm has spoken.
Sorry, guys, but yeah, you're being sort of wild and passionate, and I am being cool and collected.
Well, I mean, I find Michael Fassbender to be a very passionate man.
Your passions have run
yeah.
away with you, Alexis.
Yeah, I do have to say, I have not read the book, but hearing that he was much more dastardly, and as was Jane Eyre, she was a bit more homely.
Yeah.
I like what
They're
they
both
did.
more ugly in the book.
I'm glad they did what they did with this, casting who they did, because Michael Fassbender does such a great job of acting tortured and tormented.
Oh, yeah.
He's very good at it because he somehow makes it enticing.
Yeah.
Which works. You need that, I think, for the story to work. Because he, again, like with Fire is a reoccurrence in this film. Like
Yeah.
when it starts in his room, she comes and rescues him, and now suddenly he feels indebted to her, which never fucking comes up again because he's always so fucking manipulative. But then, the house burns down in a theoretical way, or a metaphorical way, rather. His whole world comes burning down around him, which I thought was pretty glorious to watch. And yes, he's insidious, and I think he's a bastard, but the fire that he ignited within Jane Eyre is never reduced until, like, the very end. There's still some smolders going on in there, hence
yeah,
the final kiss.
One thing that you said that I'm like him saying like I'm indebted to you and that it doesn't come up again. I do think that is the through line of his manipulation because he says that basically like my life is yours because you have saved it, and so in doing so he puts into motion the process of making her feel guilty for leaving him.
Okay.
Because he's given her his life.
Yeah.
Which was not his to give. So.
Neat.
Just saying,
Wow.
Just saying. Just saying.
Yeah,
think that's a good
that's
read.
fantastic. That's great.
Okay, I think my last major note on why I liked this movie so much is that in so many literary adaptations, you have trouble kind of saying what the character's innermost thoughts are, because a lot of times in these books, it's a first-person perspective, so you're getting everything that they're thinking about all these like different characters and how they're processing each of these scenes. Whereas obviously film is a visual medium, so
Yeah.
how do you
translate that?
How do you translate that? And so one of the ways that they actually did that was Dario Marianelli got this guy Jack Liebeck, who is a virtuoso violinist, and had him. Obviously Marianelli wrote the score, but the violin is meant to be a representation of Jane's soul throughout the movie. So you'll notice that when she's despondent, the violin is melancholy, and when she's feeling passionate, it's playful and passionate and
Whimsical.
Whimsical, yeah. So I really, really love that, and I listen to this score like pretty regularly throughout the year.
Well, you're picking up on what I love about a good orchestral piece, which is when it's done right, it's not telling you what to feel.
Yeah.
It's telling you what is going on, really.
Yeah.
And not in a literal way. And so often in the old days of Mozart and stuff like that, they would assign instruments to be like people, and they would play different emotions, and they would play off of each other, against each other. And it's just it's so beautiful. It's really, really good. Yeah, the music in this is fantastic.
And to be fair, especially when I look at like the difference between Pride and Prejudice and Jane Eyre coming from the same music composer, Pride and Prejudice, it's so whimsical, it's so fun.
It's so beautiful.
The piano playing is so gorgeous and rounded and full.
It's full of hope.
And everything in Jane Eyre is kind of muted and skulking, because it's a Gothic movie, right?
Yeah.
So they actually had like a very small orchestra, only like some main players essentially in the score.
All
So-
of this talk about orchestras is making me want to see Tar so bad.
Ooh, I really want to see that too.
What is that?
Tar, the
With Cate Blanchett?
Yeah, with Cate Blanchett, who's playing
Oh.
a composer.
Oh, okay. Oh, I saw that. Yeah. I saw
Yeah,
the
I've heard it's
trailer for
great.
that.
I need to check it out.
Yeah, that looks really good. One other thing I want to bring back to before we wrap this up is what you talked about, how drab this film is.
Yeah.
Visually, it's very gray, it's very dingy, it's very dark. But you brought up something that happens about halfway through the film when Rochester and Jane Eyre do seemingly begin their passionate love affair.
Yeah.
This unbridled joy and this gay abandon that they're having. The color temperature changes.
Yeah.
Now it's bright and beautiful.
warm.
Spring has come, literally,
Got some
and
light flares in the camera.
Exactly, metaphorically too. And it's a really great. Again, adapting a literary work takes so much work to do properly. You know, Jake Gyllenhaal has talked about how, it's so hard to make a movie. It's damn near impossible to make a good movie.
Yeah.
And so when it does happen, it's little tricks like that are just so effective. And there's that scene where Jane Eyre and Rochester are kissing, and above them are those beautiful pink cherry blossoms. And in the story, she is, and their love, quote unquote, true love, is blossoming. But unfortunately, just like the cherry blossoms themselves, they will very soon be cast away, lost amongst the wind, and they will return to the soil and return to the earth.
Yeah.
Just like this fucking story.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, you get that, and then once she runs away, you come back to that drab, kind of cool-toned palette again. And then at the very end, when she comes back to Rochester, and they're back in that grove where he first said that he wants her to marry him, it is bright and warm once more.
Yeah. All he has is Pilot.
No, no, the dog.
Great name for a dog.
Yeah. They also lit pretty much most of the interiors with like only candlelight.
I believe it.
Yeah, I wrote down that Fukunaga uses natural light in a really
From the era.
beautiful way. Yeah.
So.
So yeah, this movie you can't really find it on any streaming services. You're gonna have to rent it if you want to watch it.
I own it on DVD, so.
Or
Hang out with Alexis or rent it on Prime.
but
Be my homie. What's up?
invest in some physical media. Get yourself a copy.
Let's get physical.
Do we have anything else on Jane Eyre?
I don't personally have anything else on Jane Eyre. Oh, I'm so sad. We never mentioned Judi Dench.
Yeah.
Shout out to Judi Dench.
Judi
You're
Dench,
incredible.
fantastic. Anytime there's a
Incredible.
Victorian era piece and Judi Dench is in it, I know I'm buckling.
Buckle the fuck up.
Fucklebuck.
Buckle up, fucklehead.
She's so great. One more thing I want to say about Jane Eyre is this was not the first time I'd seen it, but again, the person that introduced it to me was Alexis, and I'm very excited for the upcoming month because I really appreciate Alexis's very she's a very good comprehension of this kind of material, which I really appreciate, and hopefully the viewers appreciate as well, because you'll probably leave this feeling a bit more cultural.
Cultured,
sophisticated.
I think, is
Cultured,
what you meant.
yes.
And look at that. Already he's getting more literate.
I know.
Alexis,
Yes.
what are we watching next week?
What are we watching next? What an excellent question, because I have not decided.
Well, your time has
the time.
come.
Let's workshop this right now. There's like two things we can do. We have The Hours, which is Meryl Streep, Nicole Kidman, and Julianne Moore. 3 women in 3 different time periods, one of which portrays Virginia Woolf before her untimely demise of suicide.
What's eating her?
Yeah, exactly. Very, very good movie. I believe they were nominated for some Oscars, and the score is beautiful. It's by Philip Glass. There are 3 other options. It would be Perfume, Story of a Murderer, or Brooklyn, or Far from the Madding Crowd, which would be a 1967 movie, score by John Barry, who also did Somewhere in Time. We're doing Pride and Prejudice at the end of the month. So that's buckled in. That is
Okay.
strapped the fuck in.
that's not an option for the next
that is absolutely well because I want to do it the same week as my birthday. Because
okay,
it's my
fair
birthday
enough.
month, so I get to choose all the movies.
Happy birthday.
Yay.
Well, I personally would be. I think we should do the hours. I think three. I think 3 time periods for the price of one.
Yeah, right?
That
Yeah.
sounds good.
Okay, yeah. Then our third week, I think we might have to like do some slap boxing or something to choose this. It was a joke, but
All right. So
next
Insert cricket sound
week
effects.
we will be doing The Hours. I believe it was 2001, 2002.
2002, directed by Stephen Daldry or Stephen Daldry, and it is starring Nicole Kidman, Meryl Streep, Julianne Moore, Ed Harris and John C. Reilly, and Allison Janney and Toni Collette,
Yeah.
and Claire Danes and Jeff Daniels.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be
Wow.
a good one.
Yeah.
Okay,
Holy
and yeah,
cow.
I feel so special that I get to like show you guys things that like you've never seen before.
Yeah, I've never seen The Hours.
I'm very excited. And you
gonna
can,
be a good month.
if you want to watch The Hours before next week, it's streaming on Paramount Plus and Showtime.
Yes, if you have Hulu, Amazon Prime, or Showtime, that's where you go.
All right. So if you want to go ahead and follow us on social media, you can find us at Film Majors Pod on Instagram and Twitter. And if you want to send us an email, share your thoughts, suggest something for us to discuss, go ahead and shoot us an email at filmmajorspod@gmail.com.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh.